Hi, this is Joyce Lundrigan with Methodist Hill Quilt Studio. Today I would like to show you an easy way to get your quilt top set up straight, square, and ready for basting. This technique uses a pattern you create in CS and save as a CSQ to be used each time you load a quilt. So let's create the CSQ pattern. First, we're going to set the grid size at 6 inches. Next, we're going to turn on Grid Snap and click on Draw Line on CAD. We're going to click 3 points, 3, and then without exiting Draw, go up to View, Grid Size, and change to a 1/4 inch. At this center point, we're going to click up a 1/4 inch and snap to grid. Right click to stop, right click to exit draw. Now we're going to select that pattern. We're going to mirror it, so click on mirror. Our first point is going to be on the same vertical line where we ended, so either the end point, and then staying on that same vertical line to keep the mirror square. We'll click a second point, and we've mirrored the pattern. But notice the start is on the left, but the end is in the middle, which we don't want. We want it to stitch continuous. So select the first segment, click on Order Join to change the stitching direction so it starts on the left, ends on the right. Now with the pattern selected, we're going to export it to a CSQ. We're going to call it Basting Outline. And now we have a pattern that we can use each time we set up a quilt.
So now let me show you how I use the basting outline pattern. I imported a picture of the quilt that I'm working on. This quilt is 36.5 inches wide. I've measured it in 3 different places, so I'm sure that's the width that I want to set my basting outline up at. I don't want to stitch in the design group, so I'm going to add a quilt group for basting. Then selecting my pattern, I'm going to change the stitches per inch to 5. I don't need little stitches for basting. I'm going to slow the speed down a little bit to 50. Then with my machine head in the upper left corner of where I'm going to lay out the quilt, I'll click on Repeat Patterns, change the reference to upper left. I'm going to change Freeze Aspect to off. This way I can change the width of the quilt top without changing how high the stitch will be on the side. 6 inches is enough for me to line things up at. The quilt I said was 36.5, and then I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to quilt out the baseline. So the pattern is going to stitch up the left-hand side, across the top. At the very center of the quilt, it will make a little stitch up and down so that I know where the middle of the quilt is. Then it will stitch over to the right and down the side. There. Now with this outline set up, I can now place my quilt top, and if the outer border happens to be a little bit dog-eared compared to the sides, I will be able to see that, and pinning from the center to either side before I actually baste the quilt. This was just an outline on the batting and the backing to give me a reference point that I could set up the top of the quilt.
With the basting outline pattern now stitched, I can take the quilt top, place it on the batting, lining it up with the basting stitches, and pin in place so that it is ready for the actual basting of the quilt top to the batting and backing. I hope you've enjoyed this technique and will give it a try. Thanks a lot.